Imagine packing your child's bags for a routine weekend visit with their parent. Imagine the tears, the tight hugs, and the heavy sense of dread, not from you, but from the child. 11-year-old Bethany Markowski did not want to go. She wept as she packed her clothes. She begged not to leave. It was as if she knew that once she stepped into that car, she might never come back. Before we go any further, welcome to the Unforgotten Project. I'm D. Ellis. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Condolences to the family. This is educational purposes only, where we cover all missing children cases to try to bring their children's cases to light. Like I said, you want to help out, like, share, comment, subscribe. It's free. Let's dive into this case. Let's travel back to March 4th, 2001. A frantic father walked up to police officers at the Old Hickory Shopping Mall in Jackson, Tennessee. He claimed his daughter had vanished into thin air. He said he let her walk into the mall alone while he took a nap in the van. When he woke up, she was gone.
And it would go through any parent's mind. Why my kid? Why would anybody want to take my daughter?
It sounds like every parent's worst nightmare, a brazen, daylight abduction in a crowded public space. But within hours, investigators pulled the mall security footage. They watched the tapes over and over again, zooming in and out on every entrance. What they discovered sent a chill down their spines. Bethany never walked in through those doors. She was never at the mall. This case is going to be tangled in a bitter custody battle, shattered alibis, and a mother's 25-year fight for justice.
He loves to draw.
But Johnny Markowski's daughter hasn't drawn in this sketchbook for a long time. 11-year-old Bethany has been missing for 4 months.
It's like a bad dream that every morning when you wake up, you lay there and think, no, this is real. I just want whoever has got her to know that right now, today, they still have an option. All we want is Bethany back.
But tonight, there are no new leads and no rest for a distraught mother who says the worst part is not knowing.
Not knowing if they're eating, if they're cold, if they're scared, if they're sleeping in a car, if they've got a bed, is the person being mean to them? Are they scared? This is a
To understand the events of March 2001, we have to look at the months leading up to that weekend. Bethany lived in Gleason, Tennessee with her mother, Johnny Carter, and her father, Larry Markowitz. But behind closed doors, the household was fractured. According to court records and family statements, the marriage was plagued by Larry's highly controlling and abusive behavior. In January of 2001, things reached a breaking point. Johnny took Bethany and fled the family home, seeking safety and filing for divorce. A bitter custody battle immediately ignited. Bethany was just 11 years old and was caught directly in the crossfire. Because the legal systems moved slowly, temporary visitation rights were granted. Larry was allowed to see his daughter on designated weekends. But as the first weekend of March approached, Bethany's demeanor shifted drastically. According to the mother, Bethany was terrified. This wasn't typical childhood reluctance. This was profound weeping distress. As she packed her bags for the weekend visit, she cried hysterically, begging her mother not to make her go. She repeatedly expressed an intense, specific fear. She was terrified that if she went with her father, he would never bring her back home. But bound by the courts, Johnny had no choice. On Friday, Larry picked up Bethany. The agreement was strict. Larry was required to return Bethany to a designated drop-off point by 5 p.m. on Sunday, March 4th. Larry claimed that over the weekend he took Bethany on a road trip to Little Rock, Arkansas to visit family. No one could have predicted that this routine trip would become a black hole where Bethany's trail vanished forever. Sunday, March 4th, 5 p.m. it came and it went. Johnny waited at the drop-off location, but Larry and Bethany never arrived. Then at 5:15 p.m., Larry Markowitz placed a phone call to the Jackson PD from a payphone at the Old Hickory Shopping Mall. Larry told the responding officers a specific story. He claimed that he and Bethany were driving back from Arkansas and were incredibly tired. He decided to pull into a parking lot of the Old Hickory Mall to rest. According to him, Bethany wanted to go inside the mall and buy something or, just look around. Larry said he gave her some money, watched her walk toward the mall entrance, and then laid down in his van to take a nap. He claimed he slept heavily for about an hour. When he woke up and realized that Bethany hadn't returned, he went inside, searched the stores, and when he couldn't find her, he called the police. The police immediately launched a massive search. The mall was locked down and shoppers were questioned, and the parking lot was combed. Because it was a bustling Sunday afternoon, investigators expected dozens of witnesses to recall seeing a bright, freckled-faced 11-year-old girl walking alone inside the mall. But nobody remembered seeing her. Then came the digital evidence. Investigators obtained the surveillance tapes from the mall's security tapes. They mapped out every time frame Larry provided, focusing heavily on the doors that he claimed that she used. These results are going to be chilling. The cameras captured the steady stream of shoppers entering and exiting. They captured the cars rolling through the lot, but Bethany was nowhere on those tapes. She never approached the doors. She never stepped foot inside the Old Hickory shopping mall. Larry's alibi didn't just have holes in it, it completely collapsed. When confronted with this evidence, Larry's story began to shift. He later claimed that maybe she didn't even go into a specific entrance, or perhaps he was mistaken about where he parked. But to law enforcement, the red flags were now roaring signs. If Bethany wasn't at the mall, then where was she? And more importantly, when was the last time she was actually seen alive? Before we continue with this story, just think about this. Who really lets an 11-year-old girl go into the mall alone and is comfortable enough to take a nap? Let me know y'all's thoughts in the comments on just that situation alone. Would y'all feel safe about letting y'all's kids or singular child go in the mall alone at 11 years old? I don't know. With the mall narrative debunked, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, or also known as the TBI, and the local PD pivoted their focus squarely onto Larry Markowitz. He had been the last known person to see Bethany. Investigators began retracing the timeline of the entire weekend trip to Arkansas. They looked for gas station receipts, highway camera footage, or witness statements that could confirm Bethany was actually with him during the drive. The results were deeply unsettling. The timeline was muddy, filled with gaps and uncounted timelines where Larry's vehicle could have been anywhere along the Royal Highways between Arkansas and Tennessee. Larry himself was publicly acknowledged in his status in the eyes of the law. In later interviews, he openly admitted that law enforcement viewed him as a primary suspect in his daughter's disappearance. Yet despite the intense suspicion, despite the collapsed alibi, and despite the glaring motive rooted in a bitter custody battle, Larry was never charged. Forensic teams thoroughly dismantled Larry's van. They searched for blood, signs of struggle, or any forensic indicators of foul play. They found nothing conclusive. Without a crime scene, without confessions, and without a discovery of Bethany's body, prosecutors knew that they did not have enough to secure a conviction in the court of law. Over the years, alternative theories crawled into the surface. A few days after the disappearance, a witness claimed to have been seeing the girl matching Bethany's description at a truck stop in a whole other part of Tennessee. The witness stated the girl looked like she was accompanied by an unidentified dark-haired woman in her 30s who appeared highly protective or controlling. Police released a sketch of this mystery woman and released the lead aggressively. Was it possible Bethany had been sold, kidnapped by a stranger, or handed off to someone else? The weeks would turn into months, and the lead grew cold. The woman was never identified, and the sighting was never confirmed. While the legal system stalled and the investigation would turn cold, Bethany's mother, Johnny Carter, refused to let her daughter be forgotten. Shuddering her own grief, she turned the pain into a fierce weapon of advocacy. Johnny realized that long-term missing children cases often slip through the cracks of public memory. She began lobbying state lawmakers to ensure what happened to Bethany would serve as a permanent reminder to the state of Tennessee. Thanks to her efforts, the state officially established March 4th as the anniversary of Bethany's disappearance as Tennessee Missing Children's Day. Every year on this date, law enforcement, families, and communities gather to shine light on cold cases across the state, ensuring that missing children are kept in the public eye. But Johnny's fight didn't stop there, marking 25 heartbreaking years since Bethany vanished into the void. Her family took their advocacy a step further. In early of 2026, they officially launched the Bethany Markowski Foundation. This nonprofit organization serves as a beacon of hope for families enduring this same exact living nightmare. The foundation works directly on the ground funding independent search efforts, providing resources to families of long-term missing individuals, and keeping the digital footprints of these cold cases alive. Bethany's name is no longer just a statistic on a police bulletin. It is an active force for good, helping bring other missing children home. It has been over 2 decades since Bethany had vanished. She was a vibrant 11-year-old girl who loved her family, bit her nails when she was nervous, and was terrified of a weekend that ultimately changed her destiny. Today, she would be a woman in her mid-30s. Someone out there knows exactly what happened on that drive back from Arkansas. Someone knows where she went or what was done to her. Gaps in the stories can be filled. Consciousness can weigh heavily over 25 years. It can only take one phone call to break a cold case wide open. That's going to be it for this episode. Let me know y'all's thoughts in the comments section.